All right. Well, hello, everybody. My name is JD Scholten, and I'm here today, honored to be here with State Representative Lindsay James.
Hello, everyone. Glad you're tuning in, and we're excited to have Representative Ross Wilburn with us. Hello, Ross. Thanks for being here.
It's great to be here, and thanks everybody for tuning in.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't realize this, it's just actually a couple weeks away that the Iowa Democratic State Central Committee will be voting to elect a new Iowa Democratic Party chair. And so we are engaging in interviews with the candidates who are vying for this position so that you can learn more and you can reach out to the State Central Committee and voice who you think would be the best fit to lead the Iowa Democratic Party. So thanks again.
Yeah, and thank you to the Iowa Democratic Wingding Committee for hosting this event. And with that, Lindsay, do you want to ask the first question?
Yes, and Ross, we're going to give you a softball for the first question. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What do we need to know about Ross Wilburn?
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for putting this together to help me and all of us to provide information to Democrats out there, in addition to the State Central Committee. But I grew up in Davenport, and I served in the Iowa Army National Guard there to help pay for school while I was earning my degree in social work at the University of Iowa. And I'm a current representative in House District 46, which covers Ames, most of Ames, and part of Story County. I'm one of the handful of members of the Iowa Legislature's Black Caucus. When I lived in Iowa City, I did serve on city council there and served as mayor, as the first Black mayor of the city of Iowa City in 2006. I ran for governor in 2018. I didn't win the primary, but it was a success because it put me in a position to get elected in a special election for my current legislative seat, and I was glad to have won re-election. And I am serving as the diversity advisor for Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. So I have responsibility working with staff in all 99 counties. Otherwise, parent of 2 adult children. I play clarinet, a little guitar, a little saxophone, and just enjoy some sports here and there.
What's your vision for the party and for the role of the chair?
In terms of vision, I think it's based mainly in the strength of the Democratic Party, which comes from people with different life experiences who share a common goal and building a more just society. The United States Constitution, the preamble starts, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice." And this is the very first action to establish justice. And all of the issues that Democrats care about, clean water, clean air, social justice, civil rights, those types of things, engaging with each other, whether you're in rural, urban settings, that's the basis and the strength. And I in communicating and having conversations with the State Central Committee members, I kind of laid out a 6-point roadmap, if you will, that I think is just, it's a basis. It's not all of the answers, but I think it's something that hopefully is something that we can work from. But starting with creating a 3-cycle strategic roadmap, not just looking at the next one election, but putting ourselves in a position to have structure and relationships with each other in order to accomplish that. The second part involves candidate and local leadership development. People also call it building the bench. I don't particularly, I get that analogy in terms of having people prepared to run for office, but the sports analogy with that is that there's people sitting on the bench and there's someone deciding for them to come forward. And so I think we just need to have people prepared to run, whether that's at city council, county supervisors, even those, city council's nonpartisan office, school board nonpartisan, but we've got to have people with democratic values in positions to run for those offices. And if they don't win that first time, just like my example, to be prepared for the next election that goes around. Want to be an asset to county parties and the constituency caucuses. I think as a party, we need to make sure that we are doing that and providing resources, not just financial. Financial is an important one, but in terms of newer outreach strategies, newer tools, whether it's digital, marketing, getting our messaging out, that type of information, and tapping into the strength of the counties that are out there and the people that are doing the great work. As I listened to folks around post-election, messaging was clearly important, and we need to decide what it means to be an Iowa Democrat and to show how we're going to hold the Republicans accountable for actions that they are taking or inaction. So messaging is certainly a critical part of that. Year-round organizing, we need to fundraise at a level that we can have the resources, not just in Des Moines, but out in the counties and in the regions, so that we're able to do that, building the bench, if you will, having candidates and local leadership prepared, as well as educate each other about what it means to be a Democrat. That should be a year-round effort. And as part of that too, it's improving the data that we have, whether that's providing a little clearer understanding of the VAN software, for example, database, as well as improving access to the counties, to some of our constituency groups and some of our partners. But that's part of that six-part roadmap to getting us where we need to be.
That's great. Well, and Representative Wilburn, you talk about this 6-point roadmap and year-round organizing. All of that will take financial resources. So how do you plan to fundraise in order to match this vision?
First of all, it's a critical role that the chairperson is leading the fundraising effort, but the chair can't do it alone. And so trying to build some working groups around several issues with the party. One is just that overall roadmap, but a second is a working group to help with fundraising efforts, those direct ask. It's important to have both large and small dollar amounts, but we've got to have those resources built to strategically implement whatever it is we're going to do with our building efforts. One idea that emerged from talking with a couple of my colleagues was, if we can establish as part of that year-round effort, maybe for the first year, pick out 20 or so areas in the state with a working group and with our counties to figure out, can we establish a more permanent location for county office, to even almost have it open as a drop-in center, organizing center for people to discuss issues, or even just to get to know each other by having conversations, coffee, using that as a trial for year one to see if it's going to be something that we can build upon, so that we're again infusing the communities with the Democratic message, as well as keeping Democrats connected with issues that are impacting communities across the state, and having that number, 15, 20 or so of those will help us make sure that we're getting out into the rural areas. Those are a couple different ideas that I have. And I think selling that vision, selling something like those drop-in centers, those type of creative concepts to some of our partners, whether that's within labor or some of our groups that are activist progressive groups that have been chipping in to see if they're willing to invest in that level of activity.
Well, I know the IDP gets criticized for a lot of things, especially in more recent years, but what's one thing that they have done well, or one thing that you want to continue to do?
Well, we have, we're coming off a caucus year, so there was some great energy fundraising because of the presidential caucus, and so that's something that's a plus. I think there's people that have been put in place and gone through training in terms of some of the coordinated campaign, but I think rather than reinventing the wheel every presidential cycle, that's where we need to sustain some of that. There's some strong people, some strong leaders that we want to have out there, keeping more consistent with that. So I think that's something that we need to continue. We need to build upon the strong leadership that we have in some of the counties. And I think one way to build upon that is we've got energy in areas where there's more population and more Democrats physically, let's figure out ways that we can have them bring some of their energy out to, there's more Republicans registered, or there's, there's more no party or other party Iowans available, um, so that again, we're doing that messaging, and we're providing really a buffer for folks when those negative attacks come. It's hard for one candidate to fight against a 24/7 well-funded effort. But if we've got them surrounded, not only them, their workers, but if we've got more folks in central Iowa or eastern Iowa, can we send them out, connect them either virtually or having them physically go to some of the communities to help out people get to know different candidates and to know what it means to be a Democrat?
Representative Wilburn, why do you want to be the chair, and what makes you the best person to be the chair?
We all have a vested interest, and I, as a sitting legislator, we missed an opportunity to get a majority back in the House of Representatives, and I want to be a part of an effort to help us, remedy some of the issues that led us to not being able to get a majority back in the House, for example. As a sitting legislator, one of the areas that I can help with is help make sure that we're connecting leadership in our legislators with the State Central Committee, as well as putting myself in a position to create some even greater leadership opportunities for the State Central Committee, to pull them in to help educate, to help put out that messaging around issues and bills that come up while we're in session. And then, to have legislators to engage more leadership, but other legislators coming out to the county areas for a speakers bureau, for example, either for helping with candidate development, to help inform and educate, not just what happened in the session, but planning for moving ahead on issues. So those are a couple of the things that I think I can bring. I think also, just my background, having been at currently in state level government, having served at the local level as a mayor and city council member, where was a nonpartisan entity, but working with people with a variety of opinions and backgrounds to bring them together to discuss, dig into an issue, but then to efficiently come to a decision to move forward with the vision that we have. But to even, my time with the nonprofit area, where you've got a board of directors that's trying to get things done with large volunteer pools, and helping make sure that the volunteers are valued and that they have opportunities to highlight and showcase their skills. Even just, all of us bring a lot of history to to the work that we're doing in our advocacy, but my background as a social worker and problem solving, planning, strategic planning, those type of skills I bring to the table. But I think it's just a variety of those different roles, and having been a Democrat who, my invitation to the party back in the early 1980s was a former professor inviting me to caucus for Jesse Jackson when he was a presidential candidate. That was the initial draw to at least actively to becoming a Democrat. But there was a gap after that, and no one reached out to me. And so I know what it's like to be called upon during an election and then to really be forgotten about, ignored outside of election. And the point where I stepped forward to run for a city council position, someone on the central committee of the Democrats told me, hey, you need to talk to the city, to the party, the chair of the Democratic Party. I said, I didn't know. It was nonpartisan office. Oh, you got to do it. So as soon as I saw the chair, I happened to bump into the chair on the street. I said, hey, I'm Ross Wilburn. Yeah, I know who you are. I'm running for city council and I wanted to talk. And oh, that's great, but it's a nonpartisan office. I said, oh, well, someone on the Central Committee told me I need to talk to you. Well, I don't know why they told you that, because it's nonpartisan. Now, in some ways, we've moved away from that, and people have realized over the past few years that, we need to get Democrats running at all levels of government. But that still exists out there, and that's the type of thing that we can move closer towards engaging Iowans of all backgrounds and making sure that we're keeping connections in between elections. So it's those type of experiences that I think I bring to the table that makes me unique. And regardless of whether the Central Committee chooses me or not, I hope that 6-point plan that I sent to them, that I'll make available soon on social media for folks to be able to see at least a summary of what I sent them, because it was a pretty long document. I hope that the party and whoever is chair can use that to build around, because I've got a lot to learn from you all, and we all have to learn a lot from Democrats who weren't engaged, from people who don't identify as Democrats, but we clearly have values and areas of interest for us to move forward together.
What do you think the role of the chair is, and I think there's a misnomer in what it actually is and the reality of what it is.
Mm-hmm. I guess in some ways I look at it as a broker. Yes, you are the designated leader of the party, but I don't think that necessarily means that you are the lead on everything. There's too many people around the table that have different skills and energies. So I think part of it is setting up work groups to address parts of your strategic plan or your roadmap for getting there. And it may be, there are certain areas where the chair is going to be visible, a spokesperson with the media, with communities, but there may be an opportunity where, whether it's one of the vice chairs or another state central committee member, or, if it's a press conference, that type of thing or event, we've got both someone from the state committee, we've got someone from some of the counties that have a vested interest in a particular issue that might impact their area more than others. So part of it is that the coordinating the different resources, working, I think that there can be a role in trying to strengthen or increase the connection between the legislature, who we've got in the legislature, leadership there, as well as the state central committee. Fundraising according to that is a huge issue. But I think also when we do have candidates come forward, and in the next step will be governor, it'll be really coordinating with that campaign to help both make sure that we're being as seamless as possible with messaging, but also that we're making sure that the different areas and candidates are highlighted.
Great.
And then there's clearly, helping facilitate run the state central committee meetings, helping the state central committee members get to know each other a little better. This past year, my understanding is that, obviously because of coronavirus and the ineffectiveness of the governor at addressing the response to coronavirus, because of that, a lot of groups have had to meet virtually. And so the newer members of the state central committee, the few that I've talked to so far said they don't really know some of the passionate people that are around the table. And so they've expressed an interest in, getting to know each other better. So I think the chair facilitates that, as well as, make sure there's a strong connection between the staff that the chair hires and the state central committee.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. We're all longing to be together, and that connection is so vitally important.
Absolutely.
So, Representative Wilburn, is there anything else we need to know about you, or is there anything else you want to share with us?
Because of my involvement at various levels of elected office for 14 years now, I've got a deep understanding of issues impacting Iowans, serving at those different levels. My professional experience building broad coalitions of Iowans through respectful deliberation, debate, developing consensus, and then not just consensus, but putting it into action through common goals. I've worked with people of diverse backgrounds and a wide range of beliefs in my professional career, as well as in my personal life. My professional experience in my gubernatorial run gave me insight into the needs of Iowans and communities of all sizes, especially rural areas. And then back to my work with Iowa State University Extension and Outreach, having offices in all 99 counties, and facilitating meetings, diversity trainings, problem solving issues around the state with them has helped inform my awareness of issues that are affecting Iowans, all Iowans.
Fantastic. Well, with that, we'll wrap things up. And then just State Representative Wilburn, just want to say thank you so much for your time and your willingness to jump in and be a candidate. Thank you to Lindsay James, State Representative Lindsay James. Thank you to the Iowa Democratic Wingding Committee. And thank you all for watching.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.